And if you no longer go for a gap that exists, you're no longer a racing driver.
All right. Hello, everyone. AdrenaLuke here. I am so excited for this video because I'm bringing to you guys the first episode of a brand new series that I just had a brilliant idea for. As you can see in the title of this video, it's called Spin the Wheel. And that's going to be the name of this new series that I'm launching. So I want to explain to you guys what this is all about. So, Spin the Wheel is quite literally me spinning a wheel. So I have a random picker app that I downloaded on my phone, and it's like when you have those game shows when they have those big wheels that they turn and then it spins to land on a random selection. And so I'm using this app on my phone to spin the wheel to let it select a random track and a random vehicle category. And then I take those combinations that it picks, and then I make a lobby based off of that combination. And this is going to create some very interesting combinations because it's completely random. That is the nature of this. And so obviously this isn't a very serious, ultra competitive type of series. It's one where it's just going to have some funny combinations here and there, and not all of them are going to be really out there and exotic combinations of, you know, very quirky, different, you know, types of combinations. Some of them are actually very subtle combinations that you would expect from a typical lobby. But I mean, that's the thing, is it's random. So you don't know what kind of combination you're going to get. So, you know, I feel like a lot of sim racing content out there, and a lot of, not even sim racing videos, not just sim racing content, but a lot of the nature of sim racing itself is just hyper competitive. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with it being hyper competitive. I love that. I'm a very competitive person, and I just love being competitive. However, I do feel like sim racing needs some more casual stuff to it. It needs, you know, I feel like this is an outlet for us to kind of escape from the competitive nature here and there. These lobbies will get kind of competitive, but here's the thing. Like I already mentioned to you guys, there's going to be random track selected and random car categories selected. But on top of that, let me explain to you a little bit more in detail about what this series, Spin the Wheel, what these lobbies are going to be like, okay? So I already said that much to you. And I'm going to say that more that adds to why it's going to be more casual and laid back is that there's going to be vehicle damage will be turned off. There will be no qualifying session. So the grid order when we start the race is going to be, I guess, random is how the game does it. I just set the settings to the slowest first, and I'll show the whole settings of the lobby before I show you guys the races that I did earlier today. I will recreate the settings on the screen to just show you guys, walk through every single setting, but I'll just go ahead and mention right now, there's no qualifying session, so it's not like sport mode, and obviously since it's not sport mode, these aren't ranked races, so these races do not count towards your rank. But since they don't count towards sportsmanship rank, I still highly encourage good racing etiquette. And if someone is driving like an a-hole and just disregarding everyone else on the track and just, you know, being a dirty driver, they're going to get kicked from the lobby, and if it's bad enough, they might get featured in a dirty driving episode. But yeah, there's no qualifying session. Tire wear is turned off, vehicle damage is turned off, fuel consumption is turned off, and again, I'll walk through all the settings before I get to the races today, but I'm just generally making you guys get an idea that this is meant to be just a way to have fun. It's putting fun in the #1 priority, and that's what this is all about. I mean, you take the whole concept of spinning a wheel to see what kind of a race it's even going to be. Obviously, this is just a way to have fun, guys. And I really think, I'm really excited to see what kind of episodes along the way in the future we're going to have in this series. This episode was a blast to film. I got some absolutely amazing races that I filmed today. I can't wait for you guys to watch it. And so, the kind of vehicle selections you'll see in the wheel, I might flash a picture of the vehicle category wheel right here on the screen that I'll show now. Okay, so if I edited that correctly later on, you should have just saw a picture flash on the screen of the kind of categories it can land on the wheel. And so you saw that there's a lot of vehicle categories that were just PP limits. It would say like PP 700, PP 550, stuff like that. Whenever it lands on one that is a PP limit category, those ones are going to be road cars only. So I understand that a lot of these are road cars only, but a lot of the stuff that people do in this game is GT race cars all the time. So I feel like this is also going to help us mix things up. But yeah, if it lands on a PP category, that means obviously that you can't exceed that PP limit in a tune. However, tuning will be permitted if it lands on a PP category. And tuning will also be permitted if it lands on the pickup trucks category. However, I am not going to allow nitrous on the road car category. So if it lands on any of the PP ones, no nitrous. But if it I think the only category that I will permit nitrous will be in the pickup trucks category. So if it lands on pickup trucks, nitrous will be allowed and tuning allowed. If it lands on the PP categories, there's tuning allowed, but nitrous is not permitted. And also, if it lands on a race car category, so that means GR1, GR2, GR3, GR4, any of the GR categories, or if it lands on Super Formula or like the Retro Formula cars, what is it, the F1500TA, basically a 1980s Formula 1 car. If it lands on any of the Formula cars or GT race cars, GR1 race cars, any of the race car categories, I'm going to make it to where there's BOP on, the balance of performance setting, so that way we don't have to worry about tuning, and it'll just take care of all that for us. I know a lot of people probably won't be a big fan of that, but listen, I'm letting tuning happen on the road cars, so I don't want to dive too deep into tuning in this series, because again, I want this to be very laid back, but I think allowing tuning on road cars is perfectly fine. I don't think that's making it too competitive. But yeah, like I said, race cars, no tuning. Race cars is going to have BOP. Road cars and pickup trucks will allow tuning, okay? And so anything else I want to go over? So if let's say if I spin the wheel to determine what track is going to be for the next episode, and I spin it and it's the same track as last episode, then the ways that I can kind of still mix it up, I guess, to make it different from last episode, despite it being the last track, the same track, I mean, I can make it a different time of day. Like I can make it nighttime instead of daytime. And I can change the weather if it allows it. I know I don't think you can make it rain on any track in this game. But I can make it rain if it was dry last episode, you know, stuff like that. So, however, and the very rare possibility that I spin the wheel and it lands on the same track a third episode in a row, I mean, the odds of that are very slim. But if it does land on the same track a third episode in a row, that constitutes me respinning it. I don't want to respin very often because I really truly want this to be determined right there. I don't want to manually pick the tracks, so I want to have the least amount of say in what track and what car category is going to be. So I'm letting the wheel determine that, but that's the only time when I really think that it constitutes a respin, is if it lands on the same track a third episode in a row. I'm like, no, we're not doing that, and then I respin it. So that's the only time I'm planning on doing a respin. So here's the thing, I'm wanting to spin the wheel on the ending of all the episodes, so that way after you see all the races we did and that current combination and that episode, I will close off the video by spinning the wheel to see what kind of combination we're going to have for the next episode. However, since this is the first episode in the series, obviously I can't I didn't have any episode before this one to spin the wheel to let you guys know ahead of time, so I am going to spin the wheel before you guys see this episode. Now, when I say that, if I'm being perfectly honest, I did spin the wheel to figure out what combination this will be, obviously, before I recorded the races, because as the time of me recording this commentary, I already did get the footage for the races. But I did spin it before I got that footage, and I'm not lying about that. So I already pre-recorded me spinning the wheel on my phone, So I will go ahead and show you guys. Let's go ahead and get to the first spin, guys. And you guys are going to see what kind of combination we landed on now. Okay, so there you have it. It landed on Watkins Glen short, and it landed on PP 665. So like I explained earlier, that means since it landed on a PP category, we are doing road cars only. And now, listen guys, listen. I know that the last race footage I have on this channel was at Watkins Glen full. So this is basically the same track. And I was actually on a voice chat with a group chat. So I was talking with a lot of people in my Gran Turismo dedicated group when I was spinning the wheel for the first time. So they audibly witnessed me. I told them the results when I did it, and I was talking with them, and listen guys, since it landed on Watkins Glen, at first I did not want to actually do it, and I said, I really don't want to do the same track again. But no, I wanted to stick to my guns and said, well, it's what the wheel landed on. So, it's funny how it did that. I mean, the odds of it landing like that. And that's why I had to say the rule is that we got to have a rule here of if it lands on the same track 3 times in a row, which I know is extremely rare, but I had to have a rule of how we would handle that, okay? So, that's what you guys are going to see. That's the races that we're going to see, and it landed on Watkins Glen. So even though I did Watkins Glen earlier, that's what we're doing again. And see, that's the nature of this series, is that you don't know what to expect. So I just think this is just so fun, and I'm just so excited to see what can happen with this series. And so without further ado, I'm going to mention the tune that I had set up. You can see I'm in this Ferrari F50 here, and oh, it looks like I actually need an oil change on it. I guess, well, yeah, I did a lot of racing today with it, so before I show you my tune, actually, I'm going to go ahead and take it to GT Auto to get that oil change out of the way. And, again, with me talking about how much this new series is like a way to just have casual racing, I'm still stuck on controller, guys. And so that's kind of perfect for me. If you haven't watched my 2 videos earlier, not Dirty Driving, but the video I uploaded before Dirty Driving, I talked extensively about my life situation right now and why I'm stuck on controller just for a little bit longer. If you guys haven't watched that video, please go watch it. You guys will you guys will hear me talk all about why I'm still stuck on controller. I really don't want to go over all that again because it's just a really big lecture. To make the long story short, if you don't want to listen to all of it, I'll just say basically I'm still on the tail end of recovering from a major surgery. It goes far beyond that, but that's basically the bread and butter of it, so that's all I'm going to say for now. But yeah, I'm still stuck on controller, and so unfortunately, even though I'm sitting in this cockpit, I wasn't able to use the steering wheel and pedals for this racing that you're about to see. But yeah, I got that oil change out of the way. I'll go ahead and show you guys the tune that I had set up for this Ferrari F50 here that I took to Watkins Glen short for this race today. For races, I should say. So here is everything that I had. It is my PP 665 tune. Now the first thing you can notice is that I'm actually on sports tires instead of racing. If you guys watched the races that I did earlier on Watkins Glen, I was in the Shelby. You guys could hear me commentating saying that I think an error in my tune is that I prioritize grip too much, because with these PP limits, tires is a huge chunk of it. A giant chunk of it, actually. So if you use the best tires possible, you are sacrificing a lot of points there that you could otherwise use in different places. And so I started to understand very quickly that when I was taking the turns very well, I would exit the turns very well with how much grip I had, and I would almost pass people or gain on them tremendously, but then they would pull away, because Watkins Glen is a very fast track, so maybe it's not the best idea to put so much emphasis on grip. That doesn't mean that you should disregard grip entirely, but it is a very fast track, and so I reconsidered my tune, and I put myself on sports softs instead of racing tires. And that's good enough for this track. It really is. If you have your suspension set up properly, the differential set up properly, all that stuff, you really don't need racing tires on Watkins Glen. And so, speaking of suspension, I think this kind of track really benefits you being in a car that kind of favors towards the understeer side of things, because all the turns are very long. All the apexes are very long, so you don't have to turn very sharp. So you don't need that much oversteer. This car definitely weighs towards the understeer side of things instead of oversteer. It's a mid-engine car. I have the brake bias at -4, and I have the front sway bar tremendously stiffer than the rear. And I have the front frequency just a tad bit stiffer than the rear. And so everything here is basically pointing towards understeer. And it doesn't have too much understeer, you'd be surprised. It's you know, stable enough. It does sway towards the understeer side of things more than oversteer. But again, like I mentioned in my other video, I do want to point out to you guys, the most crucial part of tuning for Watkins Glen is the camber angle. And so when you're experiment a lot with the camber angle and just hit triangle here to measure, and then compare the two measurements and look at these two figures, the bottom two figures down here on the whole chart, is the amount of G's that you're going to get during high-speed cornering. This first row here is not even applicable to Watkins Glen. This completely disregard this first row here. Don't even pay attention to it, because even the slowest corners in Watkins Glen, you're still going very fast. And so, you know, when you're exiting the slowest corners, it may seem like you're going slow in comparison to the rest of the corners, because there are some corners that go very fast in that track, but even on the slow ones, it feels slow in comparison. But if you actually look at your speedometer, you're going a lot faster than you think. And it's just because you get used to how fast you're going all the rest of the time in the track. So like I said, don't even pay attention to that first row. Adjust your camber to just focus on those two last figures right there. Those two are what you want, what you want to pay attention to when you are tuning your camber angle for Watkins Glen. So I think I've explained enough on this tune, guys. I don't have to dive into every single nook and cranny of this. I'm just showing the whole screen so you guys can see all the rest that I've done to it. But yeah, I feel like this car was great for the track, and I feel like this series of videos that I'm starting is going to be a great way to enjoy Gran Turismo 7, and it's going to be a great way to just really mix things up, bring some new spice into sim racing, guys. We are not... I understand that competitiveness is awesome, and I'm all about that, but we don't have to always be doing the same exact thing in sim racing, okay? It's kind of like, if any of you guys know the community of Super Smash Brothers, everyone's always doing Final Destination, Fox McCloud, no items. It's turning into almost a similar thing with sim racing, I think, and I want to really mix things up. And again, this isn't cracking too hard at it. I do not disagree with the competitiveness of it. I love it. I love the competitive nature of sim racing, but I think this is bringing something new to it. It's not taking away from anything, it's just bringing something new to the table. And so I think, guys, Gran Turismo 7 is a game that has so much content out there. Why not take the chance to enjoy all of it? And so that's why, okay, now when I say all of it, I do want to also mention that in the wheel I have, no category goes slower than PP400, and the road cars at least, and no category goes faster than, if I'm going off the top of my head, I believe 850. So I'm not going to have anything that's like extremely fast. I'm not a big fan of the Tomahawk, so I'm not going to have a category that can even land on the Tomahawk. But I'm not going to have any category that's painfully slow either. Like, we're not going to be in Honda Fits or anything that slow. I know I had a video when I was racing Honda Fits in Gran Turismo Sport, and that did get painfully slow. But it was kind of fun. You guys can watch that. It's a very old video, but if you scroll far down enough in my videos, you will find that Honda Fit race that I had in Gran Turismo Sport. I am talking way too much. I need to get on to showing you guys the races, but I'm just way too excited about this series. I just can't help it, so I just want to talk forever about this series that I'm starting and hosting. But I showed you guys the tune. One more thing I want to show you guys before I get to this video. A good friend of mine, and I know that I shouted him out in the last video, but I just can't get over how good this suit and helmet livery looks. My good friend of mine, Jonathan Brigsby, has designed a beautiful livery of Connor Daly from IndyCar's suit and helmet from the Indianapolis 500 in 2021, last year's Indy 500. This guy is great at designing liveries, guys. Message him if you want to have him design liveries for you. And speaking of him, he was doing a live stream on his own while he was in the lobbies that you're going to watch that I was in. So these races you're about to watch, if you want to see a different angle and a different perspective of it and watch it from someone else's eyes, I'm going to leave a link in the description of his live stream. Even if it's not live, you guys can go back and watch it like recorded now, and you can see how the races look like from his perspective. So without further ado, let's get to this race. I'm so excited for you guys to see how this series is going to turn out. I will see you all on the track. Okay, since the last few races you've seen on this channel have been at Watkins, Glen, and that's the same track the wheel lands on for this first episode, I wanted to mix things up, so I made it nighttime this time instead of daytime, and it's also the short variation instead of the long variation. Now keep in mind, I have a false start checker, and not everyone's fully prepared for that in this lobby. Someone in front of this red Lamborghini is going to do a false start. The red Lamborghini ahead of me is not going to weave around him. It causes me to hit that red Lamborghini instead, putting me into the grass. Not the best start for me, but it's okay. I can make up for it. Heading into turn number 1, chaos is definitely going to unfold here again, just like last time. Everyone's going off the track. Look at this. It causes me to get a bunch of easy positions. Someone was ghosted in front of me there. I'm already climbing my way right back up, if not further than I already was. So that kind of a rough start, I'm already making up for it. What's lucky for me is that I'm able to avoid most of the chaos. You just saw that Ford Roadster wipe out right next to me. Lots of people wiping out around me, especially back there at turn number 1. But so far, I've only been involved in one slight collision with that red Lamborghini in the beginning. Going through the chicane here, we're going to see one other person wiping out, 2 people wiping out, 1 other person went in the grass there. There's 3 people back there in the chicane that wiped out. I am getting very lucky with everyone else around me just completely wiping out. And so I've catapulted my way up to second place, not because of how fast I'm driving, but because everyone around me seems to be losing control or getting hit by someone else. And so most of this lap has been pure luck in my favor, except for that touch I had rear-ending that Lamborghini. Everything else after that has been very good luck for me, and so I'm ending lap number 1 in P2, and my only goal at this point is to catch up to the lead. Now watch this, keep an eye on P1 up there. He's going to brake way late, he's going to go very wide, almost touch the steel barrier way out there. Now the track limits is on this red and yellow striped curb right to the left of me, so obviously he went way past the track limits, and it takes a while for his penalty to appear hovering over his car. So while we're going up this uphill S-curves, I'm thinking to myself, does the algorithm in Gran Turismo 7 just suck? Because I thought he wasn't going to get a penalty signed. But then you finally see it appear right over him right there as we go through this chicane right up here, and that's a good sign for me. Not only am I already catching up to him just naturally, even hypothetically if he didn't get that penalty, but he's going to have to serve that penalty now to slow him down, and he's going way wide again on this turn up here. That's several turns in a row now that he's taking very wide. He took that chicane very slow too, and now he has to serve this penalty up here, slowing him down, and so I was looking for any opportunity I could to regain the lead, like I said, entering into this lap, and that opportunity presents itself. I also want to take the time to point out, look at the vehicle he's in. Now that we get an up-close view of the car that he's in a grade 4 or GT4 race car. He's in a race car. And keep in mind, when I was going over the rules with you guys, and when I'm doing these quote-unquote spin the wheel things, I said PP is road car only. Now I put in the title of this video, road car only, and the title of the lobby. So he should have acknowledged that. And after this race was over, I actually messaged this guy. Well, not messaged him, but I put in the chat for everyone to see. I addressed the message him in the chat saying, telling him to change the vehicle or to be kicked, because that's not a road car. So this isn't really a fair battle I'm having with him. And he just told me flat out, he just sent a message back saying no. So I kicked him. Simple as that. This isn't really a fair battle. But regardless of it not being a fair battle, since he's in a grade 4 race car and I'm in a road car, I was still able to pass him here. You saw that. I mean, I know I was getting ahead of myself, talking a lot outside of what's going on with the race, but you did see that I was able to pass him. However, he took the lead right back here. Now, throughout this whole battle, just keep in mind, I'm battling with a race car, guys. I'm battling with a race car. So, again, this isn't really a fair comparison. He pulled off a very aggressive move there, made a little bit of contact with me. So we're entering into the front straight again. And see that? See how much grip he has in a race car? See how much he's able to just really pull ahead of me on those turns? Like I said, it's just not really a fair battle. Now, I'm gaining on him on the straightaway, and look at this. He just cuts me off completely because he knows I'm going way faster. Just completely cuts me off. Very dirty move. I mean, that was ridiculous. He knows that my only advantage over him is on the straights, really, because he's in a freaking race car. The only place that I can go faster than him is when we're in a straight line, because I'm in a road car. So everywhere else on the track, he's going to have a strength over me. And so what does he do? You saw back there in the front straight, he just cuts me off, and then I have to hit my brakes really hard to avoid rear-ending him, which I did at least. I didn't just rear-end him like most people would have. I don't know why I'm even putting up with this bullcrap that he's doing to me. Now he's flashing his brights at me like he's upset with me. I don't really know what on earth I did. I mean, he's really the one here that's being dirty. That cutting me off on the straightaway, I mean, really, dude, come on. If you notice that a car's going way faster than you, give them room to overtake you. Don't just cut them off. And if you were going to claim the inside of that turn, you should have done it way ahead of time. You see, what was that P12 there was ghosted. I don't know what was going on with him, but he's definitely overlapped now. If you look at the top left of the screen, you guys can see this is a 5-lap race, and we are entering into the final lap now. Now, it's good that I have the lead right now, because since he's in a race car, really what I want to do now is just really defend on the turns. If I even just park it at the apex, so to speak, and just really claim the inside of every turn, just make sure that he cannot take the corners better than me. If I block the way of the ideal line, he's going to have a really rough time adjusting his line on the outside to overtake me, because his only strength above mine is that he's in a race car, so he's going to have way better grip and way better cornering than I ever can get in a road car. And you know, this is kind of off topic, but I do want to point out that on me getting the footage of this video, on me recording these races, I was incredibly sleep deprived, and so you're seeing me on very little sleep but running off like, I don't know, like 250 milligrams of caffeine, I think. So I'm fueled off a ton of caffeine, and you know, that's the American method, guys. That's how you're able to overtake a race car and a road car with very little sleep, is that you just load yourself on caffeine. But again, like I said, I really was annoyed at this guy. I don't think this was fair at all, and I thought maybe he didn't acknowledge, maybe he missed that in the title of this, in the title of the lobby, that I put that it's road cars only. So, you know, I didn't know if it was just a mistake on his part. So that's why I messaged him after this saying, you know, please change to a road car. And he just flat out told me, he said no. So that's why I kicked him, and you're not going to see him in any more races in this video. So that was a pretty great race. 15 people in the lobby. I started out in 13th out of the 15 people, and I finished the race in first place, baby. I took that victory home. Very fun race. Let's get on to race number 2 now. Looking at the starting grid, there are not as many people as there were in race number 1, but there's still 11 people, which is plenty. And I can't get over how many people are honking the horn now after this new update. It's just, it's great. Now watch this. I'm going to get rear-ended by the person behind me, and because him rear-ending me propelled my car forwards, it counted it as a false start on my part, and that is such bull. I don't know how that even works. I mean, the guy rear-ended me. It caused it it counted it as a false start on my part just because my car rolled forwards, but it's because someone rear-ended it. I got so distracted and so hilarious the start of that race is that I wasn't even focusing on anything else that was happening for a while. Sorry, guys, but I guess I'll get back to commentating on what's actually going on the race now. So while I was taking my time laughing about that start, you guys probably noticed that that white Ferrari F12 behind me did nick the barrier while we were going through the S-curves. And not only did that slow him down because he wrecked a little bit, but it also gave him a time penalty, because I had in the settings to this lobby, I have wall collision penalties turned on to prevent people from doing a dirty tactic that's well known in the sim racing community called wall riding, because that's a tactic that only works in the virtual world and will never work in the real world, and I just hate when people wall ride, and so that's why I always have wall contact penalties turned on. And so that's really unfortunate for him. Heading into lap number 2, approaching the braking zone. I do brake at the appropriate time. However, watch the bottom right of the screen. Look at the radar. I'm rear-ended. There's some slight contact, not a terrible contact, but that slight contact is what propels my car off of the track limits. But the game algorithm doesn't really care, and because of that, I am assigned a time penalty for ignoring the track limits. How dare you get rear-ended, AdrenaLuke? How dare you get rear-ended? As if it's my fault, but that is the penalty algorithm for you. But you know what? I'd rather have a faulty penalty system than no penalty system at all. Which honestly was the major problem at the end of Gran Turismo Sport's lifespan. Now look at this. I went too wide. P3 capitalizes on my error there, but I had to serve a penalty anyways. But I do have a tendency to go wide on that turn. And you'll see that same turn that I went wide on back there. I have a tendency to go wide on it kind of often, but I think I braked a little bit too much and went too slow on that turn there, because after I went too wide, I'm being extra cautious now, and that's also working against me. So you got to get it just right. Entering into lap number 3 now. That penalty really hurt me, and I'm definitely falling behind, and it looks like P4 is within a second range behind me. But however, when you're going up these S-curves, getting any draft behind the car close in front of you can suck you into the wall. And so I have a lot of confidence going up this S-curve when I'm ahead of someone behind me, because I know they have to back off. They cannot follow you very close because it's way too risky, and the draft will suck you right into the wall. So you have to be very careful about that. Now you can barely notice it, but watch the top right of the screen, watch the top right. You're going to see P4 cut the chicane into the grass there, and that's going to make him pick up a time penalty. But look at this, I'm going so wide in this turn, and this is the same turn that, if you remember, I said earlier in this race that I have a tendency to go wide on that exact turn that I just did again. Now at this point, I notice how far ahead P2 is, and I'm feeling pressured to catch up. I get a little too greedy here, going the throttle too early, and look at this, I went way off the track limits there, and now I myself am going to pick up a time penalty. And so now it doesn't really matter that P4 behind me has a time penalty, because now we both do. It's just a penalty festival. They're handing out penalties to everyone in here. They don't discriminate. And so we're pulling into turn number 1 here. Am I going to pick up another time penalty? Am I going to be able to stay inside? Yes, I do, but barely. And now look at this. P4 is pulling up to the inside of me. He manages to slip on the inside. And now remember, now that he's overtaken me, I said I have to be very careful not to pick up a draft here, because it would have sucked me right into that wall on the right there if I did. So that's why I backed off, and now I wait to pick up a draft from him behind the straight right here. This is when you want to pick up a draft, and I'm pulling to the right of him now, entering into the chicane. Are we going to go by it side by side? No. He falls back and pulls back behind me. That's a very smart move on P4, because you do not want to go through that chicane side by side. It's much smarter to go in a single file. Now, am I going to go wide here on this turn again? No, I'm able to be smart this time at least, and I was able to defend the inside. Now, we're both going to serve our time penalties here, and now there's someone coming up behind us that did not serve time penalties, and he's going way faster. Look at this. Look at this. Scott is going to fly right past us because he did not need to serve a time penalty at all, and so I was easily overtaken there. Both of us were, to be honest. And the final lap is upon us as we cross the line, entering into lap number 5 out of 5. Now, Scott was able to pull ahead of me very easily because we both had time penalties. However, Scott is in a car that suffers on the straights. He doesn't have the same straight line speed as my car, but he's much better at cornering than my car is. So he's going to be a little bit faster through this section, but on the very end here, look at how easily I'm able to pull up on him because, like I said, his car suffers a little bit in the straight line speed area. And so now entering into the chicane, he's probably going to be able to gain on me a lot more easily here. I'm definitely going to have to defend the upside on this turn now because, like I said, his car is a lot better at cornering. So let's see this. Am I going to be able to hug it tight? Stay tight, and I am. It would have been catastrophic for me if I went wide there because Scott would have capitalized on that right away. Scott has way better cornering than I do, so my only hope is to make sure that he's not able to capitalize on that. I have to defend the inside of every turn because he would fly ahead of me on the turns. He's not going to fly ahead of me on the straights. He did earlier because I had that time penalty. Entering into the home stretch on the final lap, it looks like I was able to take home P3, a podium finish. What a fantastic race, guys. This track just, it never fails to bring very fun races. What a fun race, guys. I'm loving Watkins Glen. Loving it. Loving it. That was such a fun race. P3, I gotta be really happy about that too. I didn't win like I did last race, but guys, a podium finish is still pretty great. And we started the race with 11 people. Looks like 2 people ended up leaving, but, you know, starting the race with 11 people, and I ended up in a top 3 position. Pretty good race. Let's get on to race number 3. Alright, for race number 3 we had 12 people, so we have 1 person that must have joined the lobby. Everyone's blaring their horns again, some people flashing the brights, you know, just the peak of Gran Turismo lobbies. Now watch this, P1's going to get a false start. I am starting in P2 in this race, so I'm starting near the front. Brigsby is going to fly right past me, soaring in that Lancer. That thing is mighty quick. However, when we're going up these S-curves right here, watch this, I'm able to get a slight draft behind him right before we enter into the S-curves, and that's just enough for me to overtake him. And I was lucky enough to where I was able to pull just in front of him to where I don't have to adjust my driving line and pull to the outside to give him room. So that lets me take the ideal line much faster through there. And coming up to the end of this straight, I have a lot more high-end power than Brigsby, although I brake too late at this chicane, so it doesn't even matter. All the momentum I gained from the end of that straight, having more high-end power than him, has just gone to waste because I braked too late at the chicane. So now Brigsby is right on my tail again. I had to be more consistent. Look at that, I look to the right there, he's pulling up to the side of me. We're having a drag race on the straight. But you see here, look at this, Exhibit A of me showing that my high-end power is more than his as I pulled away from him at the end of that straight again. Now, it does look like he's gaining on me on the corners, although there's a battle going on right behind me. I'm just ahead of a very intense battle going on, so I'm lucky enough to where I have the space to myself up here, but things are looking kind of crowded behind me. Now, that can be a good thing, although someone's pulling to the right side of me. I'm forced to take the outside around turn number 1. I can't cut the apex if someone was blocking it, but there is a collision. There's a collision, and that's letting me pull right ahead. Look at that. Once again, luck is in my favor. Coming up on the S-curves, Brigsby cannot pull right behind me because, like I said many times now, that draft would have sucked him right into the wall. So very smart move on Brigsby for falling back. And now we are entering into the last part of the straight here, into the chicane. I'm able to brake appropriately this time, so I'm not going through the chicane nearly as bad as last time. But look at this. Someone's pulling right to the left of me. Atomic is able to claim the lead around the outside around me, and someone pulls to the inside of me. People are going from all sides around me. Brigsby taking P2 right ahead of me. I'm getting a slight drop behind him, but that high-end power, like I said, is higher than his car. So it's a trend between me and Brigsby. This battle I have with Brigsby on this race, it seems like Brigsby's pulling ahead of me, but I take it right back at the end of the straights with the high-end power of this Ferrari F50. So going into the front straight here, this is going to be, again, am I going to have my high-end power pull me ahead? Yes, look at that. I'm pulling right away from Brigsby again. I gotta see if I can take turn number 1 in just the right way, though, to where I can have the exit work in my favor, and I do not, as P3 now is someone different than Brigsby, and he's right behind my tail, flashing his brights to let me know, to let me be aware that he's pulling up right behind me. That's something that's a very smart thing to do in nighttime races if you're pulling up right behind somebody. you want to flash your brights to make him know, hey, I'm behind you. Be aware that I'm going to pull to the side of you at any second now. So I got to be very mindful that he might make a move on me at any second, as he's only 2/10 behind me. And look at that, he does make the move right there as I speak. I was just starting to say he's 2/10 behind me, and right when I say that, he passes me. I get a little bit of traction loss on the exit of that turn there. That turn just really isn't a strong suit for me in this F50, or maybe it's just driving skill, but look at that. The same guy that passed me was able to pass Atomic there. Atomic goes wide, so I actually take it right there too. Both of us are able to overtake Atomic there. Things aren't looking very good for him as he fell from the lead back down to P3. Now P1, who was behind me not too long ago, is pulling way ahead. He's over 1 second ahead of me here. And so that guy is flying, and he has a pretty good lap time, I think, later on in this race too. At this point, Atomic has the best lap time, but I'm pretty sure that the guy who's in P1, I could be wrong on this, but I'm pretty sure that he gets the fastest lap of the race at one point. Now, if I'm wrong on that, then I might look like a fool as I'm editing this, but I'm not going to do another take on the commentary. I'm just going to keep it going. So P3 is pulling right behind me. He's getting a draft on me. Coming into the chicane, though, he might have to back off a little bit to avoid a collision. This chicane can serve as a separator. People can be pulling up right behind you, and if they're not close enough to overtake you at the end of the straight, they have to fall back. You have to overtake at the end of the straight. But look at this, I'm going wide again on that corner. He just wasn't able to overtake me though. He wasn't within range. And he's still within about half of a second, but I'm pulling away because of the high-end torque. And P1 is 1.5 seconds. He continues to keep pulling away from me. And we're in the last turn. We're about to enter into the final lap of the race. And he is 2 seconds ahead now. I don't know what it is about him, but look at this. Right to the right side of me, Atomic is able to pull ahead of me on the straight here, and he's probably going to claim the inside here. Yes, he claims the inside of turn number 1, making me have to go wide, and that really slowed me down. Anytime that someone claims the apex of that first turn, it's arguably one of the slowest, if not the slowest turns in the whole track. So whenever you have to go wide in turn number 1, it really hurts you a lot more than you think. Whenever someone claims the apex of turn number 1, it's a sting. It really hurts you in your lap time. And by this point, there's not much hope for me, especially there, speak of the devil, where I just lost some traction going through the chicane there. But even before that, and especially see I'm going wide here, look at this. Just not really having the best lap. Traction loss there too. A lot of errors on my part. A lot of mistakes just piling up. And we're on just 2 more turns on the final lap here. And me being within about 2 seconds roughly of P1 and about 1.7 seconds behind P2. However, P4 is 6 seconds behind me. What on earth just happened there? So it seems like from P1 to P3, the top 3 of us have our position secured and locked in. That was a fun race. That was a very fun race. All of these races are great. But however, you guys are about to witness my favorite race of the video. I saved the best for last, but I didn't reorder them. The order of these races are chronological to how they happen in real life. So I didn't change around the order. The order of these races are how they happened when I actually hosted the lobby. Okay? So anyways, very fun race. Placed 3rd place. But let's get on to my favorite race of the day, guys. I want to show you race number 4, and you are going to see exactly why race number 4 is my favorite. Let's go and see race number 4. Here we go. One thing I want to point out before the race starts, look at the starting grid here. There are 15 people in the lobby, although there's 14 people in the race. I gave that guy plenty of time to enter the race, but for whatever reason he never did. Now, you hear a lot of horns going off. I'm starting in 9th place. Look at Prime over there in the pickup truck. He's going to have a false start. Lots of other people have false starts as we have to weave our way around traffic. Some minor collisions there. Lots of chaos unfolding already. Now look at this. P3 is going to leave the door wide open, so I go for it, and I slip right up the inside and take that apex heading into turn number 1. I have no idea why he did that, why he left the door wide open. It's a rookie mistake, to be honest. When you are approaching turn number 1, in lap number 1, when the starting grid is very condensed, it's very important to claim the inside early on. And if you listen very carefully, you can hear someone blaring their horn during the race, which is kind of funny. I don't know why they did that, but Okay. This turn right here is one that I've said I'm struggling with today, so I'm being extra sure to hug it nice and tight all the way through. Now watch up there, Brigsby in P2. He went wide through that turn, but regardless of him going wide, he was able to pull right away. Look at how far away he got in that straight there. That Lancer he's in is mighty quick. Now me and Brigsby, we go way back, and we've had a lot of close battles for over a year now. And so I'm really hoping that I can catch up to him and continue that legacy we've had, because both of us really enjoy to have close battles. And that is going to happen again right here as I'm gaining on him at the end of the straight. He overestimates how close I am to him, and he claims the inside early on. He must have not known that I'm not really close enough to him to actually have to worry about guarding the inside. Although, right here, I could be close enough to go for an overtake, but like I said, it's not smart to go for the overtake here. I fall back, as a draft from him would have sucked me into that wall to the right here. However, coming up here on the end of this straight, this is when I'm able to make a move. Look at this. He pulls to the right side, trying to defend the inside, coming up to the chicane. I'm able to pass him right here, although I don't take the chicane the best way, and he's going to pull around me. Watch this on the outside here. He's coming up behind, right past me, but watch this. Scott, out of nowhere, is going to go diagonally past me, and now Brigsby is right in front of him. And watch this up here, guys. It gets even better. I am about to pull off the best move in motorsports history, better than Schumacher, better than everybody. Brigsby and Scott right in front of me. There's somebody behind me. There's barely much of a gap, and I take it. And now there's someone claiming the inside of that apex, so it's forcing me to go wide. I pick up a penalty, what would have otherwise been the most brilliant move ever. Oh, that's a lot, guys. I think that deserves a slow motion replay. What do you guys think? Let's see a slow motion replay of that, all right? So coming up here, watch this. Somebody behind me, both cars in front of me. I go diagonally, taking the tiniest gap I even see, but I saw a gap and I went for it. Let's see this in normal speed now. Look at this right there, and someone had the inside of that turn. So because someone already had the apex, it ruined the plan I had. It ruined my plans, guys, and I had to go wide and pick up a penalty because of it. Now let's get right back to the action. After that battle you saw back there, Scott's going to come out on top as you see him way ahead of me here in the front straight. Look at the bottom right of the screen. You're going to see Atomic on the radar there. Look how he slips up the inside of the apex of turn number 1. I have no choice but to go all the way around the outside, and that's going to significantly hurt me, even worse than the time penalty that I accumulated back there. Now Atomic's going to be catching up to Scott, who by this point's way up there. Watch this. Atomic's going to pull to the left side. Scott must be unaware. He's not leaving him any room. Atomic on the grass. There's contact as Atomic hits Scott. Scott in the grass to the right of me now, and then Scott's going to re-enter and cause to hit me, and now I'm off the track. A three-way collision. What a heartbreaking occurrence. Absolutely heartbreaking for all of us, as you had that battle that I showed the replay earlier. You had Jonathan, you had Atomic, you had me, and you had Scott. At this point, all four of us that were in that close battle are now left behind, and so far back, we've been overtaken several times. What a heartbreaking occurrence, guys. What a heartbreak for all of us involved in that. Now, make no mistake, guys, I do not think that there was any ill intentions at all from anybody involved in that. Stuff like this can happen in motorsports in real life, and it can also happen in sim racing just as easily. Scott's an excellent driver, okay? But I think that Scott was unaware that Atomic was trying to pass him on the left side. And because of that, that's what caused a collision, as he didn't really give him enough space, and Atomic was already there, so he had to pull into the grass. Now, when I say that Scott can have the blame placed on him, that does not mean that I think that Scott was dirty there, okay? Everyone was driving clean. It was just a freak occurrence, and stuff like that can happen. And it was a very heartbreaking moment. But speaking of heartbreak, I want you guys to look up at the chicane up here. Look at this. Jonathan Brigsby is going to be ghosted right there. Brigsby ghosted. Something must have happened with him, some freak occurrence. And you talk about a heartbreak. That's another heartbreaking occurrence, because like I mentioned, you had Brigsby, you had me, you had Atomic, and you had Scott, all on lap number 2 when we had the second to last turn. We had that great battle there. And look at this. Atomic ghosted now. It seems like all of us are just, you know, we had a very great race to begin with, and the race was going so smooth, and an incredible race to begin with. but it was going south real fast, with a lot of us having heartbreaking moments. I know that some of you might be questioning, well, Luke, you said before this race started that this is your favorite race of the day. Why then are we seeing all this heartbreak everywhere, all these collisions everywhere? Well, listen. I still think this is my favorite race of the day because of that battle and that really awesome moment that unfolded on lap number 2, second to last turn of the lap. That was just amazing, okay? And so I still hold this as my favorite race of the day. And now we are on the final lap of the final race. I want to give my closing thoughts and just say, I had high expectations going into this, and my expectations were exceeded. I am so glad that I had the idea for this series called Spin the Wheel. Everything that I thought it would be is that and even better. I really thought that this would be, you know, a fun, casual way to bring the community together and to have some great races, and it definitely was. Now, I want to close out the video by me spinning the wheel on camera to reveal for next episode what the track and vehicle category will be for the next episode. So as I'm about to cross the line here, finishing the race in 5th place, you guys will see in a second here, I will spin the wheel for next episode. And this is how all the episodes are going to end from now on. All the episodes from then on are going to end with this. So I'm going to spin the wheel right here for you guys. And there you have it. The wheel has spoken. Next episode, we can look forward to seeing Tokyo Expressway Central Clockwise in go-karts. This is half of the fun of the series, and I knew eventually there would be some crazy mix-ups in there. If you want to be included in the next episode, there will be a public open lobby hosted next week sometime around either Wednesday or Thursday. If you haven't subscribed, please do so, and please leave a like on this video. Race fast, race clean, and I will see you all in the next video.
Game over.